They said it wasn't humanly possible. But now you can have all the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Plus, Game Boy comes with the outrageous new game, Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use the revolutionary video link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
There you go, Nintendo. The start of your handheld empire, the Game Boy.
Game Boy is an 8-bit handheld system that was created by Gunpei Yokoi, who was also responsible for the Game & Watch series.
The Game Boy itself is rather large, runs off of 4 AA batteries, and has no backlight and uses a very oddly colored pea soup green type of screen.
You could game on the go with this weird rectangle white brick.
It was made for being portable. You could take it on the subway, you could take it in a car ride, you could drop it, do this and that, and the thing would still keep ticking.
Sound chip, I mean, it has 1 channel less, but is arguably a better sound chip than the one on the NES.
Oddly, there's a contrast dial on the side where you can turn the contrast up and down. Why would you ever have it on anything but maximum, ever?
So the Game Boy launched with fun games right out the gate.
Of course, you had Super Mario Land, you had Alleyway, which is basically like Breakout, you had tennis, baseball, and of course, Tetris.
Tetris was originally developed by Alexei Pajitnov in the Soviet Union in 1984. He was working as an artificial intelligence engineer for the Soviet Academy of Sciences. And so to test the artificial intelligence of these computer systems, he created this game where basically you had these 4-block puzzle pieces that would come and try to fit them into neat little lines.
Tetris was a game that sort of exploded on the scene, and Tetris overnight became a sensation.
Tetris was secured from both Spectrum Holobyte and Atari spin-off company Tengen.
The rights were being sold back and forth, without any real permission.
It turns out Tetris hadn't been licensed to anyone.
By 1988, you had a bunch of companies basically saying, I have the rights to Tetris, I have the rights to Tetris, because it was a giant cluster. And by that point, the Soviet Union was, okay, we're shut up, all of you, we're actually selling the rights to Tetris now.
But the government officials there did not understand how intellectual property worked, and they asked for way too much money.
Atari comes up and they're like, we would like to buy the rights. And so they buy the rights to arcade versions of Tetris.
Nintendo, having legally gained the rights through Alexei directly, having sent one of their guys over to the Soviet Union to meet with him and to arrange getting the rights, which is really tough to do in the Soviet Union before the Soviet Union had fallen.
Tengen, which was the arm of Atari which created games for the NES, was creating Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System without the permission of Nintendo, which had strong clampdown on what could be published on the NES. Eventually, it went to court. Tengen versus Nintendo of America.
Lots of right issues between Atari and Nintendo, going back to Russia and developers and who actually owned the rights to it. Huge convoluted mess.
Eventually Nintendo, long story short, won their case.
Tengen lost the battle and had to recall all of its Tetris games.
Because Tetris was packaged in, you would get this demographic that you would probably never ever get launching a video game system, and that's you got adults, you got kids that want to play this game.
This was marketed towards adults, not just children.
Right.
You had businessmen playing this on the go to work, not just kids.
What made the Game Boy popular was its wide appeal and Tetris. I mean, 46% of the console's users were female.
The Game Boy was around for a long time. I always thought it would die out a lot sooner.
A Game Boy that was in use during Desert Storm in 1991 in Kuwait, and it had been through a fire. And the whole casing was charred and black, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? The soldier who had it turned it on afterward, and the dang thing still worked.
This is a system that lasted about 11 years.
The Game Boy competed with the Sega Game Gear, the Atari Lynx, and the Turbo Express, all technically better systems, but it destroyed them.
The main thing the Game Boy proves is that fun wins out over technology.
Sure.
Because it really is an underwhelming piece of hardware to look at until you're given 4 really good cartridges and you realize that you're playing hours later.